Good day. I trust that you are doing very well this afternoon. It's a Friday, and I hope that you had a great day. And today we are going to still continue to stream and share on a very important subject, which is dealing with anxiety. I believe that much of the things that you're going to achieve this year or fail to achieve this year are going to be linked to your mental state. And so today I will talk about the impact of anxiety, and I'll also talk about the solutions as well, so that together we can grow. Remember, my commitment this year is to share as much as information that will enable you and empower you to make the most of 2022 and also the years to come. So let's get into it and talk about anxiety. What is it? Anxiety, what is it? Basically, it's other scholars would put it, it's trouble in the mind. Trouble in the mind. It's when we begin to feel uneasy, and especially regarding a particular outcome. We worry and we are concerned because we don't know exactly how things are going to pan out. Therefore, we get into a state where we get anxious. Because we don't know how things are going to turn out. So it's also linked to the idea that when we lose control of something, because we are creatures that want to understand how things works, we want to understand the future, we want to understand the outcome of things, and when we fail to fully comprehend and understand how things are going to be or the outcome of a particular situation, we are likely to be anxious. And sometimes we are anxious because we are afraid of failing. So we know in our mind that the result of our attempts is going to lead to failure, and because of that, we get into a state where we are anxious. Sometimes it's also when the result of what we anticipate, there's some level of shame that is attached to the outcome, or criticism that might be attached to the outcome. We are also likely to get into a place where we are anxious. But also, what I want to say is this: that regardless of the state that you are in right now, and really what makes you anxious, and I'm leading to something that is important here, is that you have to first of all establish the common or the root cause of your anxiety. What is it that is making you anxious? Because if you don't find the trigger of that anxiety, chances are that it's going to be very, very difficult for you to overcome, to deal with that particular situation. So find the trigger, and there are some common triggers that I've just written down here. They are not all of them, and that's why I'm emphasizing on the idea of each one of us finding the triggers to our anxiety. So whenever you feel anxious, you have to keep on monitoring yourself so that you are able to master and exactly what are your key triggers to your anxiety. One of the key triggers to anxiety would be a change regarding to working environment, or if the organization that you're working for is going through a number of changes, that also can be a trigger to your anxiety. Some also, it could be the type of relationship perhaps that you have with your colleagues, and more also maybe your manager, somebody who's above you, also that is likely to trigger some level of anxiety. Sometimes also too much work and you feel like you are behind work, also that is also able to trigger some anxiety as well. But also what I've also learned and observed as I deal with relationships and those people with people who are dating or in marriage, I've also realized that the state of relationship that we are in also has the ability to also trigger some level of anxiety, and linked to the idea of being triggered by the state of the relationship that perhaps you might be in is also the fact that if you are experiencing some form of abuse, be it verbal, be it emotional, and be it physical or sexual abuse. And this also can be linked to the fact that if in the past you haven't dealt also with the trauma of the thing that you went through, maybe you were physically abused, sexually abused, and verbally abused. All this, if you haven't dealt with it, and as you have moved on with life, it also could be something that probably is a trigger to your anxiety. And maybe right now, maybe things are not going well in your relationship, and you're experiencing some form of abuse, you're experiencing some form of just issues that you are dealing with in the relationship. That also has the ability to trigger you and put you in a state where you become anxious. But maybe you might be saying that what are the solutions, Kelvin, to anxiety? But the most important thing, as I mentioned earlier on, is that you have to be aware of your trigger, because I can give you 5 steps or 6 steps or 6 solutions. None of those solutions are going to help you if they're not linked to actually the root cause of your anxiety. So you have to be aware of what is it that is causing you anxiety. What is it that you are most worried about? What is the key trigger? Because when you are aware of what is causing you or bringing you anxiety, you can be able to seek help that is actually that targets to resolve the issue that you might be facing at that particular time. So it's important for us to be aware of the trigger that brings about anxiety. That's the most important thing. The other important thing, which is I think could be point number 2, is that you have to pay attention to the good things that are going on in your life. Because what happens when we feel anxious mentally, we are focusing on the things that might go wrong. What if this doesn't work? What if I lose my job? What if this person dumps me? So there is a lot of what if. And because we are focusing on negative things, the result of that negative focus, when our mind focus on negative conversation, then what happens that then it triggers and brings about anxiety. Here's the principle. They say that whatever you focus on grows or expands. So if you focus on negativity, what might go wrong, what your life might end up being in a negative way in the future, that is bound to bring anxiety into your mind, into your life. So the best thing that you could do for yourself, instead of focusing on the negativity, the same way that anxiety is brought about by negative thoughts, you could also begin to switch your mind in a way where you begin to ponder and meditate on things that are good in whatever situation that you are in right now. Perhaps maybe you have a job right now, but you just don't have maybe a good supervisor, or the working environment is not that great. What you could do at that moment to minimize the impact of anxiety is to focus on the fact that there are people around you who don't have a job and you do have a job. That mental shift minimize the impact of negative thinking, which then leads to anxiety. So in every situation, focus first of all, before you entertain negative thoughts, look at the situation that you are in right now. Yes, you might ask yourself, what could go wrong? Ask yourself, why not ask yourself, what could go right? What could go right? What is the good thing that can come out of this situation? Because when you think that way, you are switching your mind and you are placing your mind into a state where the mind focuses on that which is positive. When your mind focuses on that which is positive, what is also going to happen emotionally, you are going to feel more energetic, you're going to feel more vibrant, you're going to feel more at ease, because the emotions are regulated by what is going on in our mind. And the idea of also looking at what might go right, or what is good in the situation that you are in, it puts you in a place of gratitude, because sometimes we are anxious about a number of things, and in the process of being anxious, we neglect to take note of the things actually that are going on well in our lives, and there is less gratitude that happens. And the idea of being grateful, the idea of being of expressing your gratitude regarding your situation or your life and where you are. Perhaps maybe today you might be in a state where you are not feeling good about yourself, the steps that you have made in life. You think that you could have been maybe 10 times better than you are today. But you can also think different to say, although I'm not the person that I want to be, I think I'm not the person that I used to be. And you are grateful for what you have accomplished so far. You are grateful for where you are right now. And you are grateful also that you have the ability even to imagine that there could be something better in your life than what you are currently going through right now. That in itself also is a gift, because there are individuals who are so broken in life to the point that to them what they are waiting for is just to die, and what they are contemplating in life is not even to improve their lives, but to just exit life, because life has taken them that far to think that way. So you have to make sure that you don't just focus on the negative, but you channel your thinking into thinking that which is good, that which is going on well around your life. This also linked to the point number 2 that I'm going to raise. Remember that not every thought that you have that gets to you is empowering. Not every imagination empowers you. So whenever a thought comes into you, you have to recognize the kind of thoughts that are coming into your life, and are they empowering you, or are they taking away the power that you need for you to actually survive and think in a more reasonable way? So you have to recognize the kind of thoughts that are coming into your mind whenever you are going through a particular situation, because if you don't become aware of your thinking patterns, it's going to be very difficult for you actually to direct your thoughts in a way that is empowering. So remember, your mind is there so that you can make use of it in a way that is empowering, in a way that actually moves you forward to achieve your goals and to achieve your dreams. But so your mind is not a master. You are the master of the mind. So whenever a thought drops into your mind, if that thought is not empowering, it's not enabling you, it's not inspiring, it's not encouraging you, you take charge of that thought and find ways of channeling your thinking to a more positive thing. So it's important, if you're going to regulate your level of anxiety in your life, it's important to take note of the thoughts that you are entertaining, because the more you entertain negative thoughts and the more you let those negative thoughts linger in your mind, chances are that the reaction of that is that you're going to be anxious. So the moment a thought comes in, this is why it's important also for us to be aware of what we are listening to, the kind of voices, the kind of messages, the kind of conversation, because if the conversation are not empowering, what is going to happen also, your mind is going to lean more to the thing that you hear the most, and your reaction to that will always be that of being anxious. So it's important to recognize what gets into your mind. If it's not empowering, get rid of it. If it's empowering, linger, ponder on it, and channel that thought in a way that is going to be helpful to you. Point number 3, I think we are on number 3, is that take time to take care of yourself, because sometimes when negative thoughts kind of lingers in our minds and stays there, they are the one then that brings about some level of anxiety, because we are so fixated on what we are thinking, what the outcome might be. But you have to learn to take care of yourself by taking a break. How do you do that? In other words, what I'm trying also to say is that you have to somehow find a way of switching off. What can you do? Maybe you need to sleep, or maybe you need to go running. Maybe you need to listen to some music. Maybe if you are like me and you like to maybe spend some time in prayer, spend some time in prayer, because what you're trying to do is that you are trying to make sure that your mind is distracted and focus your mind on something else that is negative. So in taking care of yourself or taking a break, you are trying to teach your mind to detach itself from whatever that might be a concern, because that way, when you are running, you are concentrated on running. If you are maybe sleeping, you're switched off. Some people don't even sleep when they are actually anxious. Some they sleep. If you are the kind that sleeps, then sleep. If you're the kind that can't sleep when you are anxious, go running. Do something that makes your mind switch and somehow stop focusing on the situation that you are facing right now, because that way, when you come back again to look at a particular situation that you might be facing, you are going to look at that situation from a different point of view. You'll be more relaxed. Your body will also be will rest enough, and that way you will be able to actually be in a more stable condition. What I want also to do is to talk about point number 4, which is, if you want to deal with anxiety, also you have to somehow keep on having this optimistic view of the world. You don't have to always be pessimistic. You don't have to be negative, because the more negative you are, the more negative view of the world that you hold, and what you always think about what can go wrong. What happens in the process that you always live a life where you are always anxious, because you are always thinking that something could go wrong. So when in dealing and in overcoming anxiety at a personal level, one of the strategies that you can use is to find ways and means where, and this is why I said earlier on, that listen to empowering conversation, empowering motivation talks, empowering watch videos that are empowering, that are trying to shift your mind. Remember, when you are accustomed to negative thinking, your mind has been strengthened in that regard. For you to break the cycle, you have to start replacing your mind by listening to positivity, so that you can weaken the muscle that has been strengthened mentally to think in a negative way, so that at the end of the day, you'll be able to begin to develop optimistic worldview, an optimistic worldview. And this also is linked to what I said earlier on, to say, think about what can go wrong, or think about what can go right, or what can go well, or think about what is good, what is noble. Because when you are thinking about what is noble, also you're forcing your mind and forcing yourself to think in a more positive way. Remember, the more negative you think, the more you are also likely to experience a certain level of anxiety. The more optimistic you are, the more you are also going to control yourself. Yes, you are facing a situation, but you are hopeful that things are going to be resolved. You are hopeful that something good might come out of the situation. You are hopeful that even if you are going through whatever you are going through, there will be a time that you are going to overcome. You are not going to always be the same person. You are not always going to be facing the same struggles. That's a person who is optimistic. But a person who is pessimistic, they always think, I'll always remain like this. I'm not going to overcome. I'm not going to become a better person. I want to leave the thought with you. The more, I think it's more on the effects of anxiety, the more you prolong being in a state where you are always anxious. A number of things might go wrong. You might end up not being productive. You might end up losing good relationships because you are always anxious. And when you are anxious, you might be impulsive in your response. And no one wants to be with a person that way. So you end up losing a good relationship. But one important thing that aspect that I've observed is an aspect where you might develop this extreme criticism of yourself, which then leads to self-hatred, where you don't like yourself, you self-criticize yourself, and in itself, actually, you keep on empowering yourself. On the other hand, you want a better future, but the way you go about thinking about what you are going through somehow undermines the good results that you might be wanting to get. So I want to encourage you, if maybe you've been experiencing maybe extreme anxiety, maybe that could be a sign that is an underlying issue. What maybe you might need is just to go and seek maybe a health professional that can be able maybe to help you and establish really what might be going on, so that maybe what you need basically is beyond the strategies that I've used. Maybe you need, a medical treatment, and out of that medical treatment, you can also bring about certain strategies that can help you deal and overcome your anxiety. That's it from me for today. I wish you all the best and enjoy the rest of the weekend. And I will see you by God's grace on Monday again at 3 p.m. as I go deeper in other conversations that are more empowering. Remember, this year, I just want to contribute to your well-being and to your success, and making sure that this year become a different year. So enjoy the rest of the day, and I will see you again on Monday. God bless you. Bye-bye.